today. And I also happen to be a disability inclusion specialist at the International Labour Organization, the ILO, where I have the privilege of coordinating the ILO Global Business and Disability Network, a coming together of 45 multinational enterprises, close to 50 national business and disability networks, and also non-business entities working jointly for more disability inclusion in business with a focus on employment. With me today in this panel we called Accessibility Powering Employment, Leadership by Business. We have 5 of these 45 multinational enterprise members of our global network represented. We have, okay, it's not in the order they have, but there's Bruce, the man there on my right, on your left. He's Global Head Inclusion and Diversity of Adecco Group. Then we have Katerina Melanitou on the very left from your perspective. She's Digital Accessibility Lead AXA. Then we have on the very right Frank Justus. He's Global Co-Lead of the Business Resource Group Enable in Bayer. Then we have on my left, your right, sorry, Stephanie Elms. She is the head disability and neuroinclusion in Novartis. And on my right, to your left, is Lise Yessourour, Werle, Global DEI Director in Pluxee. So with that out of the way, what is this session actually about, right? So obviously this is part of the Zero Project Conference 2026 with a focus on accessibility, and we wanted to showcase how physical and digital accessibility are also powering employment. One of the main issues we try to promote, employment for persons with disabilities, also in the Global Business and Disability Network. With accessibility as a strategy, not some afterthought, right? So we'll hear diverse perspectives, approaches from leading businesses in this area. We have 52 minutes left, and we'll structure the session in 2 parts, or 3 parts really. I'll ask each of the speakers to respond to one question first. Then we'll hope to have some time for Q&A with you all here in the room, and then I'll ask a final quick questions to all of you at the end. I hope that's clear so far. So let's start in alphabetical order of the name of the company. So there's no preferential treatment. There's also no discrimination, I hope. So Adecco goes first. Bruce, since Adecco is an HR and staffing company, as an intermediary in the labor market, how do you ensure accessibility in your processes, and then also as an employer at your final client company, because companies are clients of yours looking for staff?
Thanks, Jürgen. Hello, everyone. My name is Bruce. I'm a Caucasian male with a dark suit and a white shirt, wearing glasses in my early 50s, and I'm super happy to be with you today. Thanks for welcoming us here at the Zero Conference. The Adecco Group is an intermediary on the labor market. We operate in 63 countries, leading to employment more than 500,000 people daily. Having said that, it's a lot of responsibility because we convey most of the contracts through our different services. We have 3 main brands: Adecco, which I represent, Akkodis, which is our tech brand, and LHH, HR and consulting. From the Adecco perspective, I believe that employment of all is the first thing. We have a baseline within the group which makes the future work for everyone. And just by stating that, it obliges us. We have inclusion at the core of our values, group-wise, worldwide. And I can tell you, it's every day, every moment with everyone. So you cannot trick if you break the trust. You have to be consistent in the journey. You have to consider each single person as a client. Because the level of commitment, if you're an intermediary on the labor market, is based on long-term relationship and reputation. So you cannot disappoint. it obliges you on the other way to secure that your decision processes are fair. So if you are to say yes to someone for an assignment at a client, you have to explain why you will authorize them to work or why you did not choose them. So it's a lot of responsibility. It's more than a commitment. It's also about enabling the relationship on the long run. But when going back to accessibility, at first, it's the accessibility of the mindsets first. How do you help unbiased processes by training your colleagues that will operate the recruitments and have the commercial conversation with their stakeholder at the final client company? It goes through bias-free trainings, of course, but we have also a set of training, and next one is coming out next month. It's practicing inclusive recruitment. That it will be a compulsory training for all recruiters. So it's really a basic, as basic as that, but it's nurturing the culture of the company and allowing the ways to be more accessible and having open conversation on the way to disclose and express any specifics, not from our perspective, but from the individuals. I always say we are not medical services or health services. We are at the service of our customers, and our candidates are customers. We have to be minding. Also, when it comes to accessibility, it's accessibility of the interview, whether remote or in person, accessibility of the location of our own premises or real estate, but also accessibility of the client setting. So, and accessibility is not only the building, it's all the way to go there. If you take your metro or your Oyster card in London, you have to get up to the venue and get your journey clear. Here in Vienna, you have your ways. I think if it's clear from the building point, but also from the mobility standpoint, it's all the better. Accessibility of the tools you use. Of course, here it's the place to discover innovation. I always give the example of our CV Maker thing. It's available on all Adecco websites. It's been developed by a blind colleague of ours. But please test it. It's a way to get a CV for someone that doesn't have one, and you can bring yours back home before entering our databases. So never assume on someone's behalf what their needs are. It's a mindset that I want to share and build alliances strategies. We cannot do it alone, so we have to discuss with our clients. So I discussed with Marine and her team at AXA, with Katerina today. I discussed with Lise, I discussed with Frank, with Stephie. I think it's about creating the right ways to leverage inclusion together, and I would like to be grateful to the ILO GBDN, Global Business and Disability Network. We've been a member from the very early stages, and I think you need more spaces like that to develop all inclusion topics. And persons with disabilities, they deserve better treatment in all companies. So open to dialogue, of course, and thanks for having me here today.
Great, thanks so much. Well, first, that Adecco has been a long-standing member in our network, but emphasizing the need for collaboration between business, but of course also with business allies, including organizations of persons with disabilities. So moving now to AXA, represented by Katerina today. So AXA, of course, is also a global company. So how do you handle, as a global company, accessibility, the maturity of the accessibility journey, so to say, in a company with different entities around the world? What have been the challenges? How did you deal with the challenges, and what are the outcomes? Thank you.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's a thrill. I'm very thrilled to be in this conference, and I'm very happy to share AXA's best practices. I'm a middle-aged white woman with brown hair. And about AXA, AXA is an insurance company It has over 150,000 employees. It's present in 50 countries and has 95 million clients. So regarding to your question, regarding the challenges, obviously we had the challenge that the company is huge. We had to engage with a lot of stakeholders, and also the AXA entities around the world are very different from one another, and they had different levels of maturity in digital accessibility, but also different needs. So generally speaking, also there were some misconceptions about accessibility. And yeah, so we wanted to build upon, the great work that was being done already by the HR D&I teams, and we wanted to ensure this precondition for inclusion for both our customers and employees. Okay, so the approach that we took a holistic approach, and I think the holistic is a word that you will hear a lot in this panel. A holistic approach that tackled various dimensions within the company, such as communications, product development, learning, and so on. Obviously, we took as an inspiration common maturity models, but we really adapted one to AXA's reality, and the strategy in the end is tailored to the company. So to mention 5 things, main things that we did. First of all, it was the state, okay? We started by asking, including and not imposing. We had to assess the state, so we asked the entities about their, where they were, their needs, but also their expectations. And in the working groups that we created later on for certain things, such as tooling, for instance, we included both people from the group and the entities in order not to create silos and to understand both realities. The second is about the processes. So we outlined the group processes and the common assets that cascade to all entities and needed to be tackled. For instance, the digital permit, the design guidelines, the architecture principles, and so on. There, the cross-collaboration with different departments is key, especially with D&I, with the brand, and with engineering excellence. The third thing is about the champions, okay? So the work needs to be done locally in the entities as well. So we created a network of champions across the organization and really empowered them to drive the topic locally. And we fostered the knowledge exchange and helped them with the priorities. We really wanted this decentralized approach because we thought that it would be more sustainable in the long run. Fourth, knowledge, okay? The knowledge sharing and the workshops in internal events of key global communities such as the user experience or the software engineering were many. Also, awareness-based trainings into ERG events, for instance, for accessible communications or color blindness, so that people could really understand what they could do on their side day to day to help their colleagues with disabilities. And regarding the fifth, it's regarding good practices. So we leverage good practices within the entities to scale them up, such as the Empathy Lab created at AXA UK that has a huge impact to the people that experience it, or the Accessibility by Design strategy at AXA France, or the Accessibility Design reviews at AXA Belgium. And this, everything resulted to some very positive outcomes. We are starting to see accessibility incorporated within our key processes. We see the entities that are more engaged. We see more local governance, more training, more awareness, and also the compliance of our sites and applications has gone up. For instance, the AXA France flagship site is just an example of how AXA France how seriously took accessibility, or the safe spaces for domestic violence, recently launched by AXA Group. And internally also our new talent acquisition platform, iMove, where we work with a vendor, we perform evaluations, we had an inclusive internal user test. And also our new AI tools, okay, such as Secure GPT, that it has accessibility by design, obviously new features, but the accessibility is always present. Obviously, we have still way to go, okay, but because as you know, accessibility is not a one-off, but we are happy to see a steady maturity increase.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Katerina. Yeah, obviously, accessibility is never finished, so it's a journey. And thanks so much. I think your presentation was, your inputs were a bit like looking more internally and making people understand. It's complex organization and it needs a lot of effort and commitment to bring the internal stakeholders together to drive accessibility. Now, from the A companies to the B companies in terms of alphabet, right? Bayer, so Frank. Frank, in Bayer, you recently established an accessibility framework. What is this about? Can you explain a little bit more? How does it help your company to drive accessibility and also employment of persons with disabilities?
Yeah, thank you, Jürgen, and first and foremost, happy Wednesday to everybody. Bayer, a multinational company with expertise in the field of healthcare and agriculture. I would never call us a B company, but our name starts with B, Jürgen. 85,000 employees present all around the world. Now comes the part that I really dread after listening to Jeanette this morning in the opening ceremony, so beautifully describing her visual appearance. I have no idea what I'm wearing, okay? So she described all the brands. I have no idea, don't ask me. Most importantly, I'm wearing a shirt of our business resource group, Enable. We are present in over 70 markets, and we're really proud of that. We started with 5, and it was a tremendous journey to really avalanche this to 70 markets. And actually, we started with a lot of fragmented initiatives, silo initiatives, reactive initiatives, and we came together because we said that can't continue like this. It needs to align with the broader corporate mission, which is health for all, hunger for none. So a mission that I still get chills every time I say it. And hence we designed, with all the members of the BRGs, a holistic framework embedding accessibility throughout all the organizational processes proactively. And it has 9 interconnected dimensions. And it helps us to really drive the aspect across the organization and our partners and clients that accessibility is actually a driver of excellence and innovation. And it's essential for some, but at the end it helps everybody. Right? Now to the point, this is called accessibility providing or improving employment. To sustain this and to sustain such a framework, you need to involve the community. And when I say community, I mean people with apparent and non-apparent disabilities, the neurodivergent community, the caregiver community, and frankly speaking, doesn't matter, internal and external, we mean both, into this process of constantly evolving it. Because Jürgen, I think you said it best, this journey is never done. Right? So wherever anyone starts with, that's great, but you're definitely not at the finish line. Neither are we. I give you one example. Bruce, you mentioned also the workplace accessibility. Same for us, right? So we started by assessing multiple buildings on our own and found out we don't know everything what we're doing. So we engaged a partner, Mobility Mojo, who helped us assess not just administrative buildings, but also manufacturing buildings. And we're now extending that to research labs. And it is not just the stereotypical ramp and all this. They opened our eyes on so many other questions and aspects that need to be driven by that. We're now connecting it with desk reservation tools. So whenever a Bayer employee in future is reserving a desk wherever in whatever building of the world, he or she knows in advance what's expecting that. And to drive this further, also into external aspects. We're not there yet, but I'm giving you already a vision where this is going, right? So applicants, visitors, partners know what they expect when they come to us. That's one of these 9 dimensions. And again, to sustain it, you need the experts in board, in-house as well as externally. So on top of that, and I'll close with that, Jürgen, I hope I'm not too far off of 5 minutes, organizational changes that are happening in my company, actually they move us away from set org structures. Yeah, we all know this organizational diagrams and whatsoever, right? We're walking away of that, right? We're pretty much throwing that in the bin, because instead of having a role, it's like, okay, so what's your next assignment? And this is the beautiful opportunity that we have, because then it's also a question of what skills do people bring along. And accessibility being embedded now more and more in all our processes, the skill of an expert who can talk on whatever process we're discussing, be it research, be it marketing, be it whatever, procurement, yeah? To have the skill of an expert to share his or her experience and vision, and having then us as a BOG community also supporting this person, allows then to drive also employment all across the company. So I'm really, really thrilled. And if I may close with, I'm happy to connect afterwards, because I can describe the other 8 dimensions more in a person discussion than in 5 minutes here. So with that, Jürgen, back to you.
Great. Excellent. Thanks so much, Frank. And I think this especially the last point, no? Again, this idea that a company is complex, and there's so many units, and enabling people in procurement, in other parts of the company to have a conversation, and ideally also turn them into disability champions, right? Accessibility champions. So thanks so much for your leadership. Because you actually have a day job. You didn't say you have a day job that is not on these issues. So thanks so much for leading your BRG Enable in Bayer. Now, coming to Stephie from Novartis. Yesterday, I think, if I remember correctly, in one of our events, you mentioned that, well, you have been a long-standing member also in the Global Business and Disability Network, and that long-standing membership also helped Novartis to make an external commitment under the valuable 500 commitments. And how did this commitment to disability inclusion help adopt accessibility programs at Novartis?
Super. Thanks, Jürgen. Just before we start, I mean, Novartis, if you haven't heard of Novartis, it's a global pharma pure play. We operate in 120 countries. We have 80,000 employees, roughly. And last year we served 3 million patients around the world. My name's Stephie Elms. I'm head of disability and neuroinclusion at Novartis. I'm a team of one, unfortunately. I'm today wearing a purple shirt from our disability EIG in India, capable. I am a white transgender woman. I have long brown hair, and I'm wearing glasses. Okay. So firstly, I mean, I think Jürgen stole my thunder with giving the ILO a plug, because without being members of the ILO GPDM, we probably wouldn't have come with a commitment which is as concise and as well formulated as we have. So you know, I think, you know, what we have done with making that commitment and bringing that out through the valuable 500 and having that signed by our CEO, it really forces us to take disability inclusion seriously as a company. We really can't shy away from it anymore. It's not a nice to have. We really need to take that seriously. But it also needs to be backed up. So it needs to be backed up with sponsorship inside the company, and not just any sponsorship. You need to have executive sponsorship at the very centre of the organisation. So I'm very lucky to have 2 executive sponsors, our Chief HR Officer and our President of Operations, who are the two guys in the company who can really impact the work that I'm doing across all of the functions that I need to work with. So just coming a little bit onto our commitment. So we made a commitment in 2021, actually, around informing, involving, and including. So we have 3 pillars to our commitment. And with the inform pillar, what we're trying to do is be very cognizant about where we partner in this space. So with the ILO GPDN, with Business Disability Forum are there, Purple Space are in the room as well. Many partners, because disability inclusion is not a competitive sport. And you'll see, you know, we're always on panels with other companies. We're always sharing about, you know, what are we doing? How can we learn from each other? And that's a big piece of what we do. But it's also about, for Novartis as a data-driven, science-based company, it's about understanding what data do we need to drive our disability inclusion work forward. and how do we get that data, how do we report it out. In our Involve pillar, we talk about ERGs. It's involving our people with disabilities and our neurodiverse populations into our company. How do we govern that? How do we govern that throughout our networks across the company? We also talk about, in that piece, about accessibility. So physical and digital accessibility, which I'm not going to go into in detail because I know you're very much aware of what needs to be happening there. And lastly, in our Include pillar, this is how we look at, how do we recruit and retain people with disabilities and neurodivergent people? How do we take care of that talent and make sure that they stay with us and that they can contribute to the very best as our expectations of any employee that we have? And lastly then, how do we impact disability outside of Novartis in society? So really, I mean, in conclusion, what this gives us as a commitment is a framework to work towards. It opens a dialogue inside the company as I need to work with, across the functional silos, and maybe not as advanced as Bayer in that respect, but working across those functional silos, real estates, IT, HSE, so on and so forth, ERC, to make sure that everybody comes together, they start to understand what we need to do in the world of disability inclusion and move that forward together. And it also helps to free up budgets as well around the place, which is always a success factor. So I think that's really it from my side. I think it's a great way forward. So please make a commitment.
Great. Thanks a lot, Stephie. And not only, everybody needs to be committed, of course, but I think here the point is that the highest level of the company, at CEO level, right, these commitments were put forward. And that, of course, can only help driving accessibility and disability inclusion in a company. And I think that what we said, it's not a competitive sport, what we do here, and that's a beauty. I mean, really the privilege and pleasure I have in coordinating this global business and disability network. It's a healthy competition, but we're all friends. We all learn from each other, and it's a beautiful journey. In which we also have Lise, of course, in that journey. And Lise, so how is accessibility? So your correct title is DEI director, like your DEI director. So the question to you is, how does accessibility actually shape your approach to DEI in Pluxee?
Thank you, Jürgen. For me, accessibility is being inclusive. But first of all, I'm a white, not sure I might say Caucasians, but let's say Mediterranean women with a Middle East descent. I have black curly hair. I'm 44 years old. I'm wearing glasses and a dark pink dress. I also have two invisible disabilities. I'm neurodivergent and I have a chronic digestive disease. So I'm working for Pluxee. Pluxee used to be a former Sodexo branch. We are offering employee benefits such as these meal cards and other vouchers for leisure and mobility and a lot of benefits for employees. We are operating in 28 countries with more than 5,000 employees around the world. So we used to be a former Sodexo brand. It means that we are a quite new company. We did a spin-off 2 years ago, so we're now a standalone company. And for us, it was an opportunity to recreate, redesign almost from scratch employee experience, but also DEI, and within DEI, of course, disability and accessibility. And I would sum up this journey in 4 words. First of all, the commitment, then awareness, third, process, and then accessibility by design. First of all, when we talk about commitment, it's very important to make it very clear that we're committed for disability and accessibility. And these 2 words appear together in our DEI approach. We want to be an accessible workplace for all. Not only workplace, but also I will tell you more about what we're doing for our clients as well, not for the card, but for the digital application we have redesigned for our clients. So the commitment came with the joining the ILO group. Like Stephie said, for us it was a major milestone. It allowed us to have this collective movement, and I'm pretty sure this is why also the IT and product teams decided that the application for our clients would be accessible as well. So second, we have to make sure that everybody's understand what is accessibility. It's not only the offices, as you said earlier, it's also to change the mindsets and show that it's not optional. It's not because someone asks for it, but it has to be essential. So we launched different campaigns. In November, we launched a campaign with a serious game based on TV shows. It was a fun way to invite people to change their vision on disability and on accessibility. It comes in various ways. So we discovered different accommodation we can provide to people depending on their disability or disease. And to continue with that, we organize also specific meetings on very specific topics with employees. So we had the possibility to put a face on a disability and to exchange with a colleague we know and understand how to be more inclusive and ensure accessibility with our colleagues and teams. And same for IT and product teams. First of all, they knew everything about inclusive design and accessibility, which happens to be wrong. So we trained almost 100 developers in-house. And yes, now they admitted they learned a lot. Third, we have to ensure it's not only a one-shot campaign, so we need to ensure that accessibility is part of a permanent process. So in all of the countries, we have asked HRs to name a health and disability champion. It's not only HRs, it can be any other role in the company, but it's really important that we have someone that is clearly identified for employees if they need accommodation or accessibility for doing their daily job. And we really want to avoid people compensating by themselves. So we created an incentive program to increase the number of declared employees with disability. What it means to have an incentive program, for instance, in France, we offer more than 2,000 euros per year of vouchers. So employees declaring their disability can benefit from these services at home for cleaning, for homeworks, for kids, and so on. And it worked. We also tried to train, as Bruce said, we have to train HRs, but we have to train managers so they know. And once they have seen what is accessibility, I believe that cannot unsee it. So we have to train them, we have to make them understand it's not a HR issue to provide accessibility. So we have created workshops so they can discuss all together on how to be inclusive to a candidate with disability, how to be inclusive to a colleague with a disability, whatever it is, sensory disability or neurodivergent, how to welcome back someone with after a long medical leave. It's really important to be trained to reflect beforehand. Because we need the process to be impeccable. And same on the IT and product team. We decided to hire an external consultant for 2 days per week. And the function of this consultant was to detect any lines of code that needed to be enhanced. So the application for our client is 100% accessible. We're not there yet. We're almost 80%, but we plan to be 100% by the end of next year. I'm very happy because IT teams decided to go further, and they are now developing automatic tests to detect whenever we're not fully accessible. To ensure that this maturity remains at the same level, they are also developing toolkits for any further global needs to develop application, whatever it's internal or external. So this is the last phase, how to ensure that now it's not only enhancing, but it will be inclusive and accessible by design in every app project we have, internal and external. We are finalizing the health, safety, and well-being policy. We will launch it in a few weeks. And with this global policy, we want to have shared standards for all our employees to be sure that the entire employee experience cycle is fully inclusive and accessible. And I think we have to be very careful to include it at the very start of this employee experience cycle, because when you see it, when you join a company, after that it is a cultural anchor. It remains into your to the entire cycle. So yes, for now it's the beginning of the journey, but yes, we're very confident in the future with this set.
Great, excellent. Thanks so much, Lise. And yeah, you said it's a very young company, really, but yet big. So it's great that all these things like accessibility, disability inclusion, awareness raising, and comprehensive approach is taken into account and worked on from the beginning. So well done, and thanks for your leadership. Now we have, let's say, 14 minutes or something for Q&A with you here in the audience. So I would ask you, when you take the mic, please introduce yourself by name and the organization or company you represent, in case you're representing an organization or company, and then also please to which speaker or speakers you address a question. Over to you. Yeah, please.
Good morning. I am Antonio Martinez Pujalte from the Miguel Hernández University in Elche, where we have a program, a training program for persons with intellectual disabilities at the university to promote employment of these persons. My point would be that, as you know, accessibility includes reasonable adjustments. And for persons with intellectual disabilities, a reasonable adjustment that can be needed or required.
Excuse me to cut you short, but is it a question or a statement? Just to clarify.
No,
okay, please.
There is a question at the end. For persons with intellectual disabilities, a reasonable adjustment that can be needed or required is to have personal support at employment, supported employment. I will like to know if in some of your companies there is some experience of supported employment for persons with intellectual disabilities.
Great. No, thanks a lot, Antonio, for this important question. Let's take 1 or 2 more questions before we open. And that's for all speakers. And then, yes, please, over there.
Thank you. Lena Lovdal, human rights lawyer from Norway. I was just wondering if you could say something more about key performance indicators. How do you use that, especially in relation to who do you count as persons with disabilities, and do you have key performance indicators that on the environment as well? Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Lena. Very good questions also. And then maybe for now, the last question we take. Yep.
Gottfried Zimmermann from Stuttgart Media University in Germany. We talk a lot about accessibility maturity models. Of you and the panelists, does anybody have experience with any accessibility maturity model?
Great, excellent. So we have 3 to 5 questions, depending on how you want to phrase the different questions. But let's maybe start with the first one about experience in your company with supported employment, specifically for persons with intellectual disabilities. Anyone wants to go first? If anyone. Okay, Bruce, thank you.
I can go. We have a few, not as much as we should probably. One of the main constraints for us is to be the intermediary with our clients. So we have to build a program together. If it's a joint agenda, if fair, it would work. I would stress maybe some examples we have in Spain, where we have a very proactive foundation that empowers people with all types of disability, including intellectual disabilities, and dialogue with civil society that frames the things right. In some other markets, I'm French, so I can give some of our feedbacks. It's also empowering our third-party management roles with subcontractors from supported employment system, and also bring some lines internally at our clients. I'm thinking of one of our outsourcing capacity that has a dedicated line for persons from all background, but with specific trainers and supported employment in a retail store in the warehouse part, where you have really support with our team, medical health specialists, and the people themselves that express the way they do. Again, it's feasible. It should. It deserves probably to be mainstreamed in a more formal way.
So maybe to add to that, yes, we do have some examples. Do we have as many as I would wish for? No, not at all. But that taps a little bit into the maturity model question. I said we are covering 70 markets, and some of our more mature markets do have examples. Not only does the person then also have someone supporting this person from external, but no, we also actually embed that the group in which this individual works is equally then trained and also bonds that buddy-peer network, so that there's not just one person that can be approached, but that there are multiple persons that can be approached, because this makes you also independent in special occasions. Imagine you get into an emergency situation. Imagine you get into a chaotic, too many things at the same time situation, right? I mean, we all know this. And to avoid that, we create that network of support. But again, can we do more? For sure.
Great. Thanks a lot, Bruce and Frank. Let's then go to the, it's a combination of questions from Lena there. How do you measure the key performance indicators, the KPIs, and then the multi-billion-dollar question, who counts as a person with a disability, the multi-billion-dollar question. So about how measuring success, so to say, in terms of accessibility and disability inclusion with KPIs in your companies, and how do you deal with data related to who counts as a person with disability or not?
Yeah, it's, as Jürgen alluded to, it's a very tricky question. I mean, the Novartis approach at the moment is, of course, we know that we operate in many countries in the world that have a disability quota. I don't like to rely on quotas as a way of gathering information, of course, but it does help us to understand the demographics of our population, of our employee population in those countries where we do need to report. Beyond that, we are now starting very, very early days on self-ID, so self-identification of disability across many categories, including neurodivergence. And we are literally just live in 2 countries with that. We will go with 2 more countries this year, and that will hopefully help us to start gathering real information about the total number of people with disabilities. We know, and I think everybody here respects that it's not a 100% fix. We know that many people, because of the stigmas associated with disability, will not self-identify, even if that's anonymized in the back end. But we will continue with that journey. We will aim to increase our population of people with disabilities across the world in all our markets. But it's a long and ongoing journey.
Thanks, Stephie. Anyone else on KPIs and how you define disability in your companies?
Maybe on KPIs.
Please.
Sorry, if I may add one more time. I would go beyond the percentage KPI because there's so many more. Right? I mean, I alluded earlier a little bit on the dimension of workplace accessibility, right? How many recommendations have the reports found? How many recommendations have we fixed? How many recommendations have we fixed within 90 days? How many recommendations have we implemented in plans of evolving our buildings? And this is in one dimension, right? I totally agree to Stephie, right? It's definitely a good measure stick to also look at the quota and the percentage. Absolutely, we're not blind to that at all. But I just want to make sure that if you want to drive accessibility, again, from the aspect essential for some, but helpful to anybody, you need to go beyond such a percentage. You need many more KPIs.
Stephie, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just wanted, you reminded me of some important points. I mean, especially around delivery of reasonable accommodation. So I think it's imperative that we do work to provide reasonable accommodations in a good time frame. So we do with our new global policy, we'll start to measure those KPIs and really work to continuously improve delivery around the world. Collecting data is not always easy across 120 markets, but we strive, I think, is the best I can say.
Thank you. Maybe I abuse for a moment my privilege as moderator and promote some ILO GBDN, Global Business and Disability Network products and guides just on this topic, because we, of course, understand this is one of the key issues that companies face and they want to tackle and successfully tackle. So two things. I mean, back in 2024, we launched a big report, but still readable, on putting the I in ESG, so environmental, social governance issue and the wider sustainability discussion. And that report, if you Google putting I, so the letter I for inclusion in ESG, ILO Global Network, you'll find it right away. We suggest several areas, KPI areas. I think it's a total of, I don't know, dozens of KPIs. We don't expect any company to adopt all these KPIs, but it gives companies an idea of what they could measure in terms of progress in terms of disability inclusion. And the other one is our self-assessment tool. So this is a self-assessment tool with 47 questions, especially for bigger companies, applied at country level. And it doesn't ask how many employees with disabilities do you have? Because what do you do with that information? It doesn't help you to move forward. So what, right? If it's 2%, 5%, depending on how you define disability, it doesn't quite give you the next step. So our self-assessment tool is specifically designed to ask questions that trigger thought process, awareness, but also gives you an idea of what should we have in place, what can we prioritize to move forward. So a little bit of promotion of our tools. So thanks for the question, though, because it's an important discussion. Now, moving to the last question we received before on accessibility maturity models. How do you deal with that? Do you have a specific model that holds you accountable, where you measure the maturity? So I think Katerina has something to say about that, so over to you.
Yeah, I can take this one. In our case, we did like a combination of the W3C and the typical, let's say, maturity model from Carnegie University. It served us really as a guide to craft the strategy. We analyzed the proof points for each of the dimensions, and we kept the relevant ones for our business. And in those, there were also two layers. the global, let's say, and the local, okay? So we identified where there were dependencies in each of the proof points that needed to be tackled transversally at group level, and what were mostly, let's say, responsibility of the local entities. Also, we identified the ones that were already treated. HR, D&I teams were already treated many of the proof points regarding workplace accommodations and so on in the employee, let's say, pillar. And also, we shared this maturity model with the proof points. We created, let's say, planners, okay, and in some cases we distributed them to the entities, not, let's say, acting as a police, but giving them as a guide, as a tool that they were free to use in order to organize their work and to assign responsibilities locally. Okay, so this is...
Great, thanks a lot, Katerina. Anyone else talking about accessibility, maturity? Yeah, Stephie, please.
Sorry. Yeah, I just cover what Katerina was saying. I think every business is different. So what maturity looks like for any one business is different. You know, for instance, yeah, what is your business model? Is it business B2C? Is it B2B? That has an impact, you know, especially around the digital accessibility, maturity, these kind of things. So my recommendation is it's kind of like, you know, take a good model, work it through with your stakeholders internally, and then understand where do you need to be. Also partner externally, the ILO, great references that you have. BDF have a similar model, disability in as well. There's many out there. Sorry, I shouldn't mention disability, but yeah, there's a lot of information out there. Just bring it all together and try and work it through for yourself. And there's plenty of good consultation out there if you need help.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephie. Now we slowly coming to, or quickly, coming to the end of this session. So I'll leave the final words to the speakers again. And I'll ask you under 1 minute responding to the question. Well, you also said it's diverse business, different industries, business models, but what would be your key advice to any company listening in right now, dealing with accessibility and looking for advice? What is your one key advice to such a company? Maybe we'll start on my very right and then we move to the left. Katerina?
Sure. My first advice would be don't panic. Assess, assess, listen, prioritize, opt for quick wins that create a lot of impact. Then opt for cross-collaboration, find allies and ambassadors. Foster knowledge and empathy, very important. And also encourage to think out of the box, because once people start to realize what is it about, they do not just stick to laws and standards. They want to go beyond. And human-centered design, as very accurately Sinead said this morning, and inclusive mindset unlocks endless opportunities. Endless opportunities for innovation, for new services, and for a better experience overall for both customers and employees.
Thank you, Katerina. You made it very hard for the remaining speakers to still have it. Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah, I will win a few seconds then on your planning, Jürgen. So accessibility of the mindsets again. So I think it starts there, and also tackling our abilities to think out of the box. Never assume on someone's behalf. And since my company is a relationship company, I think how would you leave a positive impact with all your stakeholders? It's all about that in the end.
Great. Thank you. Lise?
I would say let's see accessibility as a source of innovation and performance for everyone. What we really don't want to hear in companies is that we don't need accessibility because we don't have disabled people. This is completely false and unacceptable. We cannot wait to have clients or tourists coming into our offices and asking for some accommodation. So we need to really see accessibility not as a constraint, but as the cradle of big innovation. We know a lot of innovations that were coming from creation for people with disabilities. So I think it will be my advice to really have accessibility by design in everything we do, because in the end, everyone benefits from it.
Great. Yeah, Stephie.
Okay, 3 bullet points from my side. Identify your stakeholders, build governance structures, and hold those people accountable for progress.
Very clear. Thank you, Stephie. Frank.
Progress over perfection is a mantra that I would recommend to everyone. And lastly, reach out to us. No one of us did it alone. You don't need to do it alone either.
Excellent. Yes, we're here. We're all happy to help, support, and learn together. So thanks so much. Thanks for being here with us today, and thank you for your leadership, individually and also as companies. Thank you.